Hello, welcome to my channel, Edible Thoughts Makes. My name is Stephanie, and this channel is where I share with you my works in progress, finished projects, things I'm cooking up, books I'm reading, funny things my kids may say. My hope is that as you watch this episode and the previous episodes that you find some inspiration along the way. This is episode 135. I am coming to you from a frosty November, year 2024, here in Minnesota where I live with my husband and our 2 young children. This morning before sunrise, it was in the 20s and everything was covered in frost and it was just absolutely beautiful. Clear blue skies today, the sun is shining, and it is definitely sweater weather. I have quite a bit to share with you today, a lot of finished projects and a lot of works in progress. Some items you have seen before, other ones I was working on during the previous episode, I believe, which was the very end of October, but I just ran out of time to share them with you. So all of these are not necessarily ones I have cast on in the last couple of weeks. Some of them may have been on the needles for at least a month or two, but just haven't made it on here yet. And then definitely there are some that are newer. So we have lots to talk about. Let's see how far we get. I do have one book to talk about, and another one that I recently picked up from the library to start reading. I'm just not sure if I'm in the mood for it. And I have done quite a bit of baking and cooking in the last several weeks, and we'll just see where we get to, and if I need to hop on here for another episode to maybe do part 2 of this run, we'll do that. But yeah, we're just gonna kind of see where this goes and how far down the list we get. If you're new here, the way I usually organize my videos is I have an intro welcome section. Sometimes there's a short little vlog of snippets of nature scenes, and then we jump into finished projects, works in progress, eats and reads, which is things I've been baking, maybe a new recipe I want to share, or tried and true recipes, and then books I've been reading or just recently read or to be read, and then sometimes there's a food for thought section for sharing something that's been on my mind, in my heart, and usually related to making, not always related to making, but making is part of my 24/7, and so in some way, shape, or form, it can be related to making. I didn't jot down anything specific in my notebook today to share in that section, so that may not happen today. Also, just because of the number of projects I had to share, that part just may be cut out for today. I do include closed captionings on all of my videos. You can click on the CC button. YouTube also allows you to speed up or slow down the video, so you can adjust that. I include links to things that I talk about in the description box below this video. I do encourage you to check out that show notes description box section for anything that you might be looking for. I definitely recommend checking out that description box because I do try hard to include all the information you might be looking for there. I do use Ravelry for all my projects that are crocheted and knit. Sewn items are not included on Ravelry. I don't believe I have any sewn items to share with you today. I believe everything is knit today. So yes, all knitting projects today. insulated mug, and whew, I might have just burned my tongue. Before we start with the finished projects, I would like to share with you the earrings that I'm wearing. These are by Reshma of Hello Lavender. The detail is a little bit tricky to see. These are polymer clay earrings. They're super lightweight. They have gold findings and this beautiful fuchsia color, and there is a dahlia on it. I guess I would say that's like stamped. There's texture, it's raised. Hopefully it's showing up here. I feel like every time I get too close, it ends up being out of focus, but I cannot tell if it's in focus or not. Yeah, so I have these earrings on today. And I'm wearing my Building Blocks Cardi. It's a pattern by Amy Scher. I started this in, I think, January of 2024, finished it in April of 2024. There's no reason it needed to take more than 4 months to make, especially at a gauge of 17 stitches by, I think, 17 stitches by 24 rows in 4 inches. But that's just how long it took, and that's totally fine. I knit this in Purl Soho's Hedgerow base, which has these beautiful tweed bits in it. Different colorways do have different types of tweed colors though. Maybe not types of tweed, but colors of tweed that have more of these rainbow colors. But other ones, I think the brown one, is it House Wren? I can't remember exactly. Has more like brown bits, maybe some red and white. The gray one has, or maybe the gray was, well, anyway, I'm getting off topic here. I really like this cardigan. It has wooden buttons made by my husband. We can't remember if it was from birch or buckthorn in our yard, but it's from a stick. Sanded them, stained them, and yeah, these are my beautiful buttons on my lovely cardigan. So that is what I am wearing, and I am wearing it with a recently finished project. This project is not one that I've shown on here before. It was a pretty quick knit. Let me pull up my information here for it. I knit this Night and Day Cowl by Andre Maury in about a week. It is a quick project. It is DK weight. The original sample I think uses Harrisville designs in daylight and nightshades, hence the Night and Day Cowl name. I think it's called Daylights. I've used the yarn before in a different vest, and yeah, so I really like how mine turned out. Hopefully I'll have a picture of the stock or pattern original image here so you can see what it looks like. It does come in multiple sizes. I knit the adult small size, and it comes in, 4 sizes, and it is meant to be in DK weight yarn, 20 stitches, by 34 rows in 4 inches measured over this pattern. It is knit flat and then seamed up the back. And I had a good time knitting this. This cowl has this really fun patterning to it that uses slip stitches, and you will be purling as well on the wrong side. So if purling is not your jam, well, half of it is purled. I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, it has clever shaping in the increases and decreases, and I can't show you what it is flat because mine's seamed up this back portion. I feel like the seam is really tidy, and I am using a new to me yarn and a new base by Purl Soho. I think this is a really fun yarn to use. Let me show you what it looks like. So it is called Note. This is a DK weight yarn, and it is 80% extra fine merino wool and 20% baby alpaca. It is hand wash only, not machine washable. It is super soft. There is a slight halo on it. I would say the twist is not super tight, so it's pretty lofty. It is very round. Hopefully I can hold it up so that you can see that. But again, I don't know if it'll focus, so apologies if it is not focusing. I did not use up the full 100 grams of each one, and so if you purchased 2 or just had 2 other DK weight yarns available, I would say you would definitely be able to knit the adult small. I don't know, depending on your own tension and yardage, you may or may not be able to do the adult large. I ended up using 71 grams of each. So with my tension and gauge, I did meet pattern gauge. I think you could knit the adult large if you wanted to with just two. What's the yardage on these? 200 yards for 100 grams. And the colorways I used are Raw Sienna, which is the golden brown color, and Pink Sunrise for my other color. And I use the same amount for both. And I'm trying to see if I can show you. My first impressions of this yarn is that it's super, super soft, next to skin soft, zero prickle. Of course, if you're allergic to alpaca, it might bother you, but I feel like it's even softer than, well, Linen Quill has alpaca, Highland wool, and linen in it. And I feel like that sometimes can be slightly hairier and there's like linen sticking out and stuff. But this, I feel like the halo's a lot finer. And here's one end that hasn't been completely snipped or I mean, it's woven in, so it's not coming apart, but maybe you'll be able to see the twist there. I would say it comes apart pretty easily. When I'm knitting with it and tensioning my yarn, it doesn't have any issues with splitting. However, I did notice that while I was knitting, for some of the stitches, that you would want to slip, that's how this pattern works out, there wouldn't be as much tension on that, so that could be easily split. I didn't have any issues throughout because I would just watch my tension. If that bothers you, maybe this might not be the best choice of yarn for you, but in the slipped stitches, I think you can also kind of tell that the twist may not be as tight. So it comes out as a very fluffy, lightweight, super soft, finished fabric. I don't know if I would want to use this in a garment, only because it's extra fine merino wool and baby alpaca, so I would be worried about it stretching out or pilling really easily because it is so soft. But again, I've not knitted in a garment. I've not put this cowl to a lot of friction. I only recently finished it, and as a cowl, it's not going to get a lot of friction in wear anyway, so I feel like this yarn is a good choice for a cowl. The design of it ends up laying more asymmetrical, and I really like that. The edges have this I-cord finishing on one side. This other side, I don't think this is I-cord. I don't know what you call it, but it's like flatter. It looks like I-cord on the other side, but on the front side it doesn't look like I-cord, so I'm not sure what it's called. But I think because it's like a deeper, I don't know what you call it, height of a cowl, you can fold it in on itself for a little more structure, which is how I like to wear it. And I think I would reblock this to not be stretched out as much. I did block it to the pattern recommendations, but I also know that I prefer a cowl that sits closer to my neck because I want it to block wind. And when it's so loose and drapey and gapey, it doesn't really block the wind. And so I think I would reblock this. So completely soak it wet again, kind of smush it a little more together instead of stretching it out, because I really did pin it out to the dimensions in the pattern. And also having alpaca in it, alpaca tends to stretch out a little bit more and be super drapey. So I think I would just kind of push it back, and then I wouldn't undo the seam or anything, and just see if I can get it to be a little less wide. When I first finished it pre-blocking, it was pretty snug. I would say like several inches smaller, and I don't think I would want it that small, but maybe just a couple inches. So it fits fine right now and it sits nicely, but I think just for practical reasons, I would want it to be cinched in just a little bit more. Moving on to the next finished project. This is a hot water bottle cover. Did you use these growing up? I remember we had hot water bottles and we had those electric heating pads, and I don't know if the electric heating pads are like safe to use anymore. I feel like they were recalled for like fire hazards or something like that. But we did have the hot water bottles. I don't remember my mom knitting any covers for them. They might have just gone inside of some sort of, I don't know, like pillowcase type of thing. I don't know. My mom is a knitter, or was a knitter. I mean, she doesn't knit anymore, but I feel like once you're a knitter, you're always a knitter because you have that muscle memory. In any case, this is a gift and I really enjoyed making it. It is a free pattern, DK weight. It's from the Maker Maker store and I held fingering weight double. This is Malabrigo sock, so it's 100% superwash merino. I don't remember the colorway. It is pretty highly variegated in blues and greens. It's a very soothing color. And when my 8-year-old saw it, she just burst into giggles. She said, "Mom, you made a sweater for the hot water bottle?" It was the cutest thing. She's like, "It's even got like a neck thing." So it is pretty cute. So this is a Christmas gift. And I think it is the sweetest little thing. And again, it was a free pattern. You go from bottom up. I think the pattern recommends using Judy's Magic Cast On. I did a Turkish cast on, and that's just because that's the one I know how to do, and it comes out with the same result. And so you have this very tidy cast on. I don't know if it'll show up here. I should probably take it out. And if you are wondering how you fit something so big into something so small, basically you fold it up and you want to put it in not filled with water first and then open it and fill it with water. So this is what it looks like without something in it. Here is what the bottom looks like. It is very seamless. And something I really like about this pattern is that it gives directions for knitting it flat and then you seam it, or knitting in the round. I knit mine in the round. That's just the way I prefer knitting it. And then I could kind of check the fit as I went for how much longer I had to go. But I started on Magic Loop with 40-inch cables. The recommended needles are US 6, which is a 4mm, and a US 4, which is a 3.5mm, and that part is for the ribbing. So I started with Magic Loop, and once I got to a comfortable spot, maybe a couple inches in, I switched to 16-inch circulars, and that just made it go really fast. And so I had my cake of yarn, and I just pulled from the outside and the inside. I did not use all of the yarn. I ended up using 75 grams of yarn. I did use the needles recommended, and I did get gauge. And so this was a super fun, very quick knit. I believe I did it in about a week or two, I think. And let me just show you again how to put it in. So you're going to want to fold the hot water bottle. It's usually like a rubbery silicone type of material. So then I fold it like this, and then it's like in thirds, and then I put it through the top. And once it gets past these shoulder areas, which are like the decreases in the top section, you can just kind of unfold it, or it basically wants to unfold anyway, but then you can adjust the neck, and there you go. And then in order to fill it, you would unscrew this top part, and then you can pour in your hot water, and then close it up again. And this being 100% superwash merino, it's going to be nice and cozy. It can go in the wash. And yeah, so I'm very excited to gift this. I do have plans to knit another. I feel like this is a really fun one to use, like those random single skeins of yarn that you might not want to knit into socks. Like this is 100% superwash merino, so I wouldn't have wanted to knit this into socks. It would be good for a hat or other low friction accessory, but also for a hot water bottle cover, it's perfect. You could also use random bits of leftover sock yarn and hold those double to make a really fun marled one. With the marled ones, you could do a color story, so do one all warm colors, one all cool colors, or you could really create some sort of fade. There's just so many different options, but I feel like with 75 grams knitting one up, that it's very satisfying, and it's at a nice gauge that is really comfortable on my hand. The gauge is at 22 stitches by 30 rows. So it's a very comfortable gauge. It's not super dense, but not super gapey. So this is the hot water bottle cover by Emily Baudouin, and it's from the Maker Maker store, and it's a free pattern. Okay. The next 3 finished projects I'd like to share with you, I'm not going to go over in detail because I have a video on fingerless mitts that I will link to here where I talk more about my love for fingerless mitts, but I wanted to share them here just to show you all 3 because I think only one of them was actually on that video, but they're all from the same pattern. This is the November Marled Mitts by Jen Yard. This is a pattern that goes for $4.99 US dollars. It was published in January 2022. It is meant for DK or worsted, knit on US 3 or 3.25 millimeter needles, and these are so much fun. Here are two. These are gifts for our school librarians. I thought it would be a nice way to show my thanks to them, and also it is very functional. So that library can get kind of chilly in the winter. There's these nice beautiful windows, and in order to still be typing, checking kids' books in and out, and shelving books, fingerless mitts I feel like are a great accessory to have. And these ones I cast on, I believe, the adult medium, but I may have knit some of the length to the adult small. I just wanted to make sure they weren't going to be too tight, but still fit very comfortably. And so I might have adjusted some of the lengths here and there. The amount of yarn I used was about 55 grams for each one. This first one I knit using a gray yarn from Pearl Soho called Fine Print in the colorway Gray Patina. And I held it with another yarn that was gray but had these pastel rainbow bits in it. And that was by Sheepy Fibers, etc. in their sock yarn in the colorway called Concrete Rainbow. And I really wanted those blips of the rainbow to still shine through. And so the contrast color I held it with, I wanted it not to be too distracting. So just having two different grays in here makes it subtle and neutral, but still have that little bit of pop of color. The other one I knit, I also used Fine Print in the peacock feathers, I think. Is it called peacock feather? Yeah, peacock feather. And then I held it with some leftover sock yarn from Palmer Yarn Co. in the puff colorway. And that was like a variegated teal and greens and blues, remaining from a pair of socks I had knit for my husband. And then once I ran out of that yarn for the thumbs, I joined in another colorway that was similar. And that's also left over from another pair of socks. And I had this random teal color that I added in as well. And so this used 4 different yarns that were very similar in their colorway and their vibe, and I think it turned out really nice. And then the third pair, I might keep for myself, only because these are non-superwash, and so I feel like for gift knits, I generally prefer to gift superwash yarns. It's just easier care, and then if anybody has sensitivities, superwash yarn tends to be a lot softer and less irritable, and yeah, so these ones I think I'll keep for myself. I love them. Here they are. They are slightly bigger than I would typically wear them, because I would typically cast on the adult small for myself. So this is adult medium, but with the length to the adult small. I don't know, maybe I'll still gift them. I haven't decided yet, but I really like them. So I knit this with leftover Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair in Dusty Rose. And also leftover Retrosaria Rosa Pomar Mondim in Dusty Rose. If I have a picture of the two yarns not held together, I'll put that here on the side so you can see what it looked like before. But I love the mauve color that it came up with, and they're so cozy and soft and lightweight. The mohair just kind of fills in the gaps, and then the colors don't really compete, so it's a very subtle marl, and there's just like a lovely halo from the mohair. And they're so lightweight and so soft and so elegant. And I feel like these would look really nice for like a nicer holiday event. Not that I really go to nice holiday events, but if I did, if I felt up to it, I feel like these would look really nice. Like if you were wearing all black or something with a little sparkle. Like these are muted, but elegant and still nice and warm. And I just feel like these would go so nicely. Yeah, I love them. I think I'm keeping these. Yeah, I think I'm gonna keep these ones. I do have another pair that I need to cast on, but I wanted to take a teeny break from them just so I didn't get burnt out on making them. They are a very quick make. I definitely think you could make these in a week. You could even probably make them over a few days. It just really depends on how much time you have to knit on them. But the increases are pretty simple, like the rate of increases for the gusset portion. And I feel like the rib texture is pretty easy to do. It's the same throughout, and the thumbs are knit in stockinette with a little bit of ribbing at the end. So yeah, I feel like this is a really nice project that is quick, functional, can use up less than 100 grams of yarn. So if you have bits of yarn remaining, the last pair I showed you, I used 25 grams of the wool and I used 11 grams of the mohair. And I don't know about you, but I haven't knit a ton of projects with mohair, but I always end up with a little bit left over, and mohair isn't something that I use in enough projects to really combine them into different things. So I feel like with these little accessories that don't use up a ton, it really is a good way to use that little bit of mohair. The next four, well, it's 3 finished projects because one of them I've shown before, it just happens to be in this pile. But the next several finished projects are all hats, and they are also all gifts. And the first one I'm going to share with you is this adorable little classic cuffed hat. This is a free pattern on Purl Soho's website. I have probably knit a dozen of these. It is a definite go-to of mine. The ribbing is a knit one, purl one, and it just fits so well. It's stretchy, but still has great recovery. And if you don't know someone's exact head size, it doesn't matter. It still works really well. And because it has a folded up brim, if somebody had a bigger head or smaller head, you could just adjust the brim and it would be fine, as in the person could adjust it when they're wearing it. And if they wanted it more slouchy or more fitted, they just adjust the brim. So this is knit on US 3 or 3.25 millimeter needles. It is a DK weight pattern. It comes in baby through adult large size, which is 5 sizes, and you knit from the bottom up. I just do an old Norwegian cast on, which is plenty stretchy, but if you wanted to do a tubular cast on, you definitely could. Just make sure if you are going to be doing stripes or anything, weave in your ends on the outside. Because that is where it will be folded up. I should have just carried it the entire way, but initially I was thinking it'd be too far to carry, so I was cutting it, and I wish I just carried it because you can't see it. It doesn't matter. It's fine. This is for a baby. This is for my nephew. He is the newest to our bunch, and I am so excited to gift this to him at Christmas. I used Purl Soho fine print in the peacock feather, held double, and then the red, I believe, is candy apple, same base. And that one I did one of the red and then one of the teal. I really like how this came out to be. My sequence, let's see, did I write down my stripe sequence? The pattern does come with options for color blocking and things like that if you want a little guidance on how to change it up from a solid. I don't know if this one was in there or not, but I did 6 rounds of the teal and 3 rounds of the teal plus the red. I really like how it turned out, and I cast on the kid size, even though it will be for a 6-month-old baby by the time it's Christmas. But I figured this way there's a little more room to grow, and I'm not sure if he has a big head. I haven't actually gotten the chance to hug him yet, but I will at Christmas, and I'm so excited. But yeah, I think it's better to go a little big than a little too small, because then he can wear it for potentially longer, and I just love it. I used 50.29 grams of the peacock feather color and 9.37 grams of the candy apple. I just love how this crown shaping decrease section looks. It kind of spirals. And yeah, that's all I have to say about this one, and I love it so much. The next hats are all based off of the classic cuffed hat, another free pattern from Pearl Soho. I have also knit several of these. I shared this green one, I believe a few episodes ago, and this one is for my niece, and she'll be 3.5 by the time Christmas comes around. And this one I cast on the kid size. This is in Pearl Soho's Daily Wool. This one is knit in 100% superwash wool, not merino. It is still super soft, and it is machine washable, which I think is great for children and again for gift knits. And this colorway is chartreuse green. So I made this one first. I'm planning on embroidering on actually like cat eyes and whiskers, and I think that's going to be so cute. So I haven't done that yet, but you have seen this hat. But I wanted to share it with you because I made 2 more. So I used the same stitch counts. This is also the same wool, Daily Wool, but I added in color work. So I wrote out a chart and I added color work that would fit into the numbers. So like, let's say if my pattern is going to be 8 stitches or something, I just need to make sure the total stitch count is going to fit into an 8 stitch repeat, or increase or decrease some before I start the color work chart to make it work for what I want. These hats are also a gift for a niece and nephew sibling pair, and I don't think one necessarily has to go to one or the other, so they can decide what they want or depending on their mood, but I like that they go together. The darker blue color is Teal Storm. The lighter blue color is Sea Glass Blue, and then the cream color is Heirloom White. The lighter blue and white one, I modified I don't know if I really modified it, kind of. The stitch color work pattern is from the Strange Brew book, the Compass Cowl first chart in there. Although I'm kind of wondering if I should have done just 1 row in between the repeats or 2. I did 2 because when the hat is worn, it stretches a little, which then makes that stripe slightly thinner. And I feel like once it stretches out a little, it actually looks more well balanced versus disappearing. And then when it's not, it looks thicker. So I'm not sure. I think it's fine. I mean, I'm not going to redo it, so it's fine. But yes, I did knit a pretty long ribbed cuff portion before starting the color work. And my ribbing is in US 5 needles, and my color work is in US 7, which is a 4.5 millimeter needle, and the US 5 is a 3.75 millimeter needle. And I feel like my color work turned out really nice. I stopped the color work before the crown section. Here's what the inside looks like. I knit my color work using 2 hands. So I'll put the contrast color in my left hand, main color in my right hand. And yeah, I think it turned out really nicely. Even though this is a superwash wool, I feel like as long as the color work is knit slightly denser, it still fills in the gaps, okay? I feel like the difference with superwash versus non-superwash is non-superwash wool, the wool fibers will want to still cling to each other, so you fill in those gaps. And with superwash wool, you don't tend to have that, and they want to like just stick to themselves. And it's a very nice round yarn, and I think because my color work isn't as loose, I don't know how to describe it. My color work density is a nice density. It doesn't pucker, but it's firm or tight enough that I feel like the stitches aren't super gapey. Hopefully that makes sense. But I really like how they turned out, and I think they will be received well and worn well. We have made it to works in progress. Now, what I think I'm going to do as far as the works in progress section goes is not go into everything in super detail, but I did want to share with you what I am excited about working on right now. So we're going to see if we can allot each project just a couple of minutes and just keep going. Are you ready? First one we're going to talk about. This is my mini mock neck tank. It is a pattern by Jessie Mae Designs. I believe this is my 4th one. I cast this on maybe a couple of months ago, but I just had it sitting on my nightstand to work on while I was reading. Once I was past the top section, it is knit top down. And so once I'm joined in the round for the body, it is just straight stockinette with no increases, no decreases, nothing. And so I can knit on that while I'm reading. So I just kind of forgot about it to share in previous episodes, and I will just share it with you briefly now. I am knitting this in Lola Bean Yarn Co. that I bought maybe 4 years ago. I don't quite remember exactly. I feel like it was in 2020, and this is the Canary Bean 100% Superwash Merino in sport weight. The City's so nice they named it twice. It comes in 328 yards for 100 grams. And this pattern is written for fingering weight yarn, knit at a 24 stitch gauge on a US 4 needle, I believe. Yeah, on a US 4 3.5 millimeter needle. I have knit several of them in light fingering weight yarn, in like a heavier fingering weight yarn, and I prefer the ones where the fabric is slightly denser. I still get the same gauge at 24 stitches, but the space between the stitches is just less gapey, and since it is a negative ease garment, I prefer the fabric to be slightly denser so that when it stretches, it is not see-through. I do use this garment as an underlayer, so even if it's a little bit see-through, even if the armholes are a little gaping, it doesn't really matter that much because nobody will see that and it doesn't bother me. But I wanted to try it in a sport weight yarn and see how that goes. Now, because I'm usually running short on yarn by the end, I always make it. It is just fine, but I know I need that 400 yards at least. I'm not sure how this is going to work out. It might be that I have to do the neckline pickup in a different color or the bottom ribbing in a different color or just have it be more cropped because I tend to knit it several inches longer than what the pattern states. But we'll, again, just see where we get. This is the yarn. It is very highly speckled and variegated. I would say the base of the color is a little kind of grayish pinkish, and then there are so many speckles in it in neon and red and pink and blue, basically a ton of different colors. And let's see here, this is where I'm at. So again, it is knit top down. You knit the back portion first, and then you pick up at the shoulders and knit this neckline shaping down, and then once you get past the armholes where that finishing is knit as you go, you have a little bit of ribbing in the underarm section, and then it is all just plain knit stitches in the round. And I'm just going to knit until I run out of yarn basically, and this is what I have left. I have weighed it, and I know how many grams it takes me per inch, and I think it's going to end up a little bit more on the cropped side, but I do love how this fabric is knitting up. I'm still getting 24 stitches for 4 inches, but I'm just getting a slightly denser fabric than I would with light fingering weight yarn, and I really like the feel of it. It is 100% superwash merino, super soft next to skin, and I think I might, for the neckband, use that highlighter yellow that I have from Knit Picks in that stroll. I used it in my daughter's colorwork sweater held double, but I'll do it held just single on its own, and I'll knit my neckband in that highlighter yellow color, I think. We'll see. I haven't gotten to that part yet. The other thing I was thinking about was using a magenta color. I do want to knit a higher mock neck as of now, but we'll see. The stroll will feel really nice and soft next to skin. I don't know. I'm still thinking. We will see when we get there. Again, this is just knitting that I have on my nightstand for when I'm reading at night, and there's no hurry to finish it. The next project I want to share with you is a cardigan that I have started for my daughter. I also started this in September. I just didn't show it here. It is knit in the Purl Soho Daily Wool. Here it is 100% superwash wool, not merino, but still super soft, very bouncy, very round. And this is a new base from Purl Soho. It comes in 164 yards for 100 grams, But don't be fooled. I was thinking, okay, 164 yards for 100 grams, it must be classified more like Aran weight. I do think it knits up closer to worsted, maybe even DK. It's just a denser yarn, maybe? I don't know. But I really like it. It's very bouncy, it's very squishy, it's very soft, and I think it will be hard wearing. I'm going to show you the sweater. It is the Classic Cardigan by Tin Can Knits. It is a paid for pattern. It comes in a big range of sizes, and this is my first time knitting this pattern, but I don't think it will be my last. Isn't it beautiful? I have wet blocked it. There are live stitches from the sleeves held on silicone tubing, but the body portion has been bound off. I used the Heirloom White for the main color, and then I added in stripes in the body, and I love how it looks. I love it. She has tried it on. It is not a surprise. I am hoping to have it done by Christmas, but we'll see. I definitely think it's doable if I just focus on it, but as we go through my works in progress here, you will see that it's a little bit difficult to focus on just one thing right now. The red is Flame Red. It's an orange leaning red. The next color is Golden Pink. It's a peachy pink color. Then we have a Chartreuse Green, and then we have Sea Glass Blue. So you will have seen some of these colors in previous projects. I am just really enjoying this knit. It is so soft and just beautiful. And when I wet blocked it, there was zero color bleeding, no dye transfer into the Heirloom White or into the water, which is a good thing. And so I think my next step is to pick up for the neckband. I'll do the button band then, and then I'll do the sleeves at the very end, because until this middle section is done, I feel like I can't get a good idea of how long the sleeves should be, because then it won't fit properly until I have the neckband and the button band finished. So that's the next step. I've got to pick up for those, and then the sleeves should be pretty quick after that. I am knitting that sweater in the 8 to 10-year-old size for my 8-year-old, and I have a gauge, I think that's kind of in between the worsted and the DK listed in the pattern, and I'm using a US 7 for the main fabric and a US 5 for the ribbing. So I think I did have to adjust that just a little bit based on my gauge, but I really like the fabric that it's knitting up as, and I think it's coming out beautifully. So that cardigan is for our younger daughter, and I have a sweater that I have cast on for our older daughter, who is 11. I am knitting her a Metropolitan pullover by Tori Yu. So this is my second one. The first one I knit as part of the test, and I'm knitting this one for our daughter, same size, the size 1. She's really into the oversized sweatshirt look right now, and so I think this will work out really well. The size 1 is a 36-inch circumference, which I think should give her maybe 11 inches of positive ease, 10 or 11 inches of positive ease, I think. No, 9 or 10 inches. Anyway, I don't remember. Something around there, and I think it'll give her the oversized look she's looking for. Now, this is a surprise. She has not seen me work on it yet. I don't know if I'll be able to keep it a surprise until Christmas, because I will need to get going on it, but we'll see. This is it here. I love it. It's this very soft peachy pink. It's so fluffy. I'm using the recommended needles, which is a US 10 or 6 millimeter for the main fabric. The gauge is 16 stitches by 21 rows. And I think it is just knitting up beautifully. The eyelets look really pretty. The yarns I am using are, I'm trying not to get tangled here. I'm using this fluffy yarn that is discontinued by Knit Picks. It is their lace weight alpaca bloom, and it's called Champagne Peach. It is so soft and fluffy. So again, this yarn is discontinued. I've had it for many years. And then the merino yarn I'm holding it with is 100% superwash merino. And this is the Yarn Collective Fleurville 4-ply in the colorway Carnation. It's a very light, soft pink. And that comes in 382 yards for 100 grams. So it's like a maybe slightly thicker fingering weight. I don't feel like it comes out very thick, but with this fingering weight yarn plus this very fluffy alpaca, I feel like the fabric I'm getting is not as gapey, which is really nice. And I think it will prevent snagging more versus like a very loose, airy fabric. I feel like would be more prone to snags or pilling or things like that. So I don't know, we'll see. But I'm really excited with how it is knitting up. I'm gonna show it to you one more time before I put it away. This is a top-down construction. You'll pick up for a very short collar at the end, and I just love how it's knitting up. If you are interested in learning more about the construction, you can go back to a past video where I talk about mine that I'd finished in the test knit. But yeah, I really love it. I think it's so beautiful and it's so soft, and I think she is going to love it. So yes, I have this one to finish and that cardigan to finish in what, like 6 weeks or something? We'll see how far we get. And if it doesn't get done by Christmas, no big deal. It can be a New Year's gift. And if it doesn't finish by then, I have Lunar New Year to gift it for. And if it doesn't finish by then, I have Valentine's Day. But yeah, there's no big hurry. I would just love to have it done in the next 6 weeks. If you've been following along, I am knitting my husband on average a pair of socks per month this year to fill up his sock drawer of hand knit socks. He had 12 pairs prior to this year, and I was hoping to double it. I don't know if that will happen. Again, arbitrary goal, doesn't matter. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. It's okay. But I am on pair number 9. I am using West Yorkshire Spinners 4-ply in the colorway Pheasant. It is a self-patterning yarn, and I feel like this yarn is very hard wearing. I have never had to mend any socks using this yarn. I have started them. They are on US 1 2.25 millimeter 9-inch ChiaoGoo needles. I do have them started at the same time. I like to knit my socks in tandem, so I will be knitting 2 cuffs at the same time, 2 legs at the same time, and so on and so forth. This is what the yarn looks like caked up. It is very autumnal. It is beautiful. I love the colors. There's teal and white and blue and rust and a cranberry red color. I only have one sock here with me because the other one is in my purse. And here it is. I knit a knit 2 purl 2 ribbed cuff. And I love how the colors are striping up. You start with the blue, and then you get this like blue and white pattern, and then the teal, and then the blue and white pattern, cranberry red, blue and white pattern, and then it looks like 2 stripes of this rusty orange color. I think it's the same. I can't tell if one is slightly darker than the other. I think it'll be more noticeable once I get to the stockinette portion. So this is something that I can easily knit on whenever. I just pick it up and put it down whenever. I don't need to be counting anything. I mean, I need to be counting rounds, but as far as like with each round or trying to figure out where I am, I don't have to do that, which is a perfect project to be knitting on while I am reading or when I have a minute here and there, when I'm waiting for the kids for something. If I'm talking to somebody else, I don't have to be paying attention or looking down my hands. And so that is a project that doesn't really have a deadline. I can just knit on it whenever I feel like it, and it is just always there for me, and I love that. Another pair of socks I am working on that I also only have one here because I think the other one is in the cup holder of the treadmill. These are a pair of Colorwork Cuff socks from Summer Lee's November Colorwork Cuff Club, knit in the Farmer's Daughter Fibers November Sock Squad colorways. And so I have this cuff knit in this lovely blue purple. The main color of the sock is this lovely raisin brown purple color. The color work is in this gray that has, I feel like sometimes there's a slight lavender part coming out. And then I knit the slip stitch heel flap in the blue purple color again. And I feel like the contrast is looking really, really nice. And the fabric is coming out beautifully. This is a light fingering weight yarn, 75-25 superwash merino nylon at 463 yards for 100 grams. And so I did go up to an adult medium size. Usually I knit somewhere between an adult small and medium for socks. I prefer my socks to have more negative ease, but also because this is a light fingering weight yarn, I think my gauge is closer to 9 or 9.5 stitches per inch versus 8 or 8.5 stitches per inch. So I just like a denser fabric and I want to make sure it fits. And so with this denser fabric and the lighter weight yarn, I felt more comfortable going up to the adult medium size than knitting the adult small size and then not having it fit properly. And with the color work, you want to make sure that it's going to fit over your heel because color work tends to have less stretch and give. And yeah, so I think these are turning out really nicely. I have not tried them on yet, but I'm sure they will fit just fine because also with the heel flap and gusset section, I have more fabric here. And so I don't have to worry about that part being able to stretch over my foot. But yeah, I'm very happy with these. I'm on the foot for both of them. And I would like to finish these in the next week. The last work in progress I want to share with you today is one that I am so excited about. So I am test knitting the Avenue vest for Tori U. Hopefully I'll pop a picture of it here on the screen. This pattern is not coming out until middle of December. It is such a fun knit. I am very much into vests. I love that there's no sleeves, not because I don't like knitting sleeves, but because if I'm wearing it as a layering piece, I just don't want my arms to be super bunched up. And when I'm wearing a jacket, I don't like having like a lot of things in my armpit. It's just not comfortable. And so a vest, I feel like, is just that perfect piece that keeps my core warm, keeps my shoulders warm, but doesn't have like a whole bunch of extra stuff. Tori is so good at making basic pieces that have a little bit of something to them that is not fussy to do, but just gives it that extra bump of finesse. And I just love that about Tori's patterns. Now I've already actually made one Avenue vest and it is finished, but I can't show it to you because it's finished. Now this is my second one and I'm going a totally different route with this second one. My first one is very neutral, kind of a wear with anything, throw on over anything type of vest. And this one, I decided I wanted some color. I really needed that burst of joyful color. I'm going to put a picture here on the screen of what I am working with. These are all yarns that I've used before. I'm holding Purl Soho's Linen Quill Double, and I've had quite a collection of different colors over the several years that I've been knitting with this yarn. Are you ready? My main color is dark denim, and it looks heathered only because the linen doesn't take up dye the same way as animal fibers do. And so it's this very dark navy blue. So that's my main color. And I'm holding it with a bunch of different colors throughout. So I'm only ever holding 2 strands at once, but I'm switching them out as I go. Are you ready to see this? This is so much fun. So you start with the back, and then you pick up to knit the front. There are 2 versions. You have a V-neck option and a crew neck option. I like the V-neck. And then you pick up for the armhole ribbing and the neck band. And so I've done that already prior to finishing the body because I feel like it's a better indicator of fit if I'm going to be trying it on. And I love this so much. The ribbing I did, the dark denim held double, and the rest I just did a whole bunch of different colors. And if you will notice, something a little different that I did was you will see these little bands of color throughout. They don't go all the way across, and what they are duplicate stitched on extra little bands where I felt like I needed my stripes broken up just a little bit more. And in this front section, I had a lot of more neutral muted colors, and I just needed a little pop of something. So I added a pop of this Bright Flamingo Coral color here. I add a pop of this golden green in this neutral section here. And I'm not done yet. So I will be adding little blips in the back. And again, I just duplicate stitch it in. So those sections will be a little bit thicker, but honestly not enough to make a big difference in the fabric. And yeah, I I love this a lot. I'm not going to go into more details because this pattern is still in testing, but I did want to share with you this work in progress that is just a burst of fun. And because I'm switching colors as I go, it keeps the interest going, it makes it exciting, and it's just going to be so much fun to wear. What I'm envisioning wearing it with is jeans, and then just like a plain solid shirt underneath. It could be a turtleneck, black shirt, white shirt, really whatever, and just throw that on top, maybe a cowl, maybe a shawl, something cozy. But I think that's going to be a really fun one to wear. So stay tuned. The pattern doesn't release until middle of December, but keep an eye out for it. And if you are on Instagram, you may see some other testers versions popping up. It is the Avenue Vest. We have made it through all of the projects. I am ready to talk about eats and reads. There have been a lot of cooking, baking, delicious things made recently, and I'll just share a few of them with you. And hopefully I'll have a picture of it here on the screen as well. And if I forget anything, I'll just pop it on the screen. I recently made some chocolate covered bananas. So what you do is you peel the bananas, slice the bananas, freeze the banana slices so that they're in a single layer. You temper the chocolate. I just use chocolate chips. You add a little bit of oil to it. The recipe said to use coconut oil, but use whatever works for you. You probably don't want an oil that has a lot of strong flavor to it, unless that's the flavor profile you're looking for. Then you dip the banana slices in the chocolate using 2 forks. I find that the easiest way to do it is with 2 forks. And then you place it back onto the parchment lined pan, and then you put it back in the freezer. And then after a couple of hours, you can just put them all into a container, keep it in the freezer, snack on them whenever you want, and they are delicious. And I made a broccoli potato cheddar soup. That one was a mashup of 2 different recipes. I'll link both of them in the description box below. That was delicious. And I mashed up the potatoes in the soup, like not all of it, just kind of mash it a little to help thicken the soup with a potato masher right into the pot, and that worked out pretty well. I've also made some bread recently, no-knead bread in the Dutch oven. One of them had, well, no, they were pretty similar. One of them just had paprika and quinoa added to it. Another one had paprika, turmeric, black pepper, sage, and cinnamon added to it. I think I was a little heavy-handed on the turmeric. Color came out beautiful, but the bread was a little on the spicy side. But I also made a soup to go with that, so that was really good. The soup was a chickpea noodle soup, kind of like a play on chicken noodle soup, but there was no chicken in it. And yeah, that was really good. So I will link to those recipes in the description box below this video, or the cookbooks that they came out of if there's no link to go to. But yeah, those were really good. I also made a cake from Smitten Kitchen. It's like the devil's food cake with milk chocolate salted frosting. Salted milk chocolate frosting, I think, but I used semi-sweet chocolate chips in my frosting because I didn't want it as sweet, and that was really good. The recipe, I believe, uses a 9x13 pan, and then you slice the cake in half and you have this tiered rectangle cake, but I didn't want to cut it in half evenly, so I just baked it in 2 9-inch round cake pans, and then I was just able to stack those and then frost the middle layer and then the top, and that worked out really well. That was really good. And it's good the next day too. After you put it in the fridge, it makes it even easier to cut because it's cold. And then you can let it sit until it gets up to room temperature. If it's like an after school snack with the kids, I'll take it out a little bit before they're out of school and just set it on the table. And so it's room temp by the time we're eating it. Or you can take it out as you're sitting down for dinner. And then after dinner, it's at room temp to eat as well. But anyway. Or eat it cold. Doesn't matter. But the frosting won't be nice and like creamy. It won't be crumbly, but like it's not like soft, right? Anyway, doesn't matter. Eat it however way you want to. As far as reading goes, I recently finished a book called The Lost Story. It is by Meg Schaefer, new to me author. This book was published in July 2024. As far as I know, it's a standalone book. It's 352 pages. It is classified as adult fantasy fiction, mystery, romance, magic. It's contemporary, so it's based on modern day times. It follows these characters. Well, it kind of like jumps between time, not two time periods, but like it starts out with this girl who is working through some grief and is looking for her long lost sister. And then there's this guy who used to be lost with his friend, and then now he's an adult. So these main characters are in their like late 20s, or well, I don't remember how old the girl is. She must be in her middle or late 20s, but the two boys are in their early 30s, like 30 years old, I think. And then when they were lost, these two boys, they were 14 or 15. I think they were like ninth graders at the time. And then it like jumps to this adult period. So some things are explained in this 15-year gap, but it just kind of gets glossed over a little bit, I think. What I will say is I did enjoy the story. I thought it was a story with really difficult topics, but it wasn't like, it didn't really just dwell on those topics in themselves. It built this beautiful world that, though at some points I felt like seemed really simplistic, but then when you understand how the world was built, it makes a little more sense. I'm not trying to be like super mysterious. I'm just trying not to give away anything. But yeah, I did enjoy the story. I do feel like some of the topics were a little difficult to read. I do feel like something that bugged me a little was that the 30-year-olds sometimes still acted like they were 15. And I don't know if it's like from the trauma at 15. I don't know if it's because they were jumping back and forth between like what happened when they were 15 to now being 30. But I just felt like some of the way they acted as 30-year-olds and things that they said were like things that they would be saying or acting like when they were 15. I don't know, that just kind of was like a little bit of a disconnect for me, I guess. And I don't know, maybe 30-year-old men act like 15-year-old boys sometimes, but I will just leave that out there. A book I recently picked up from the library is All the Colors of the Dark by Chris Whitaker. I've been on the hold wait list for this for months, and I finally got it, but I'm not sure if it's what I want to read right now. It's a little bit of a darker story, and it's based in America in 1975. And I'm just not sure it's what I want to read right now. And I feel kind of bad because I've been on the wait list for this forever. And if I return it right away, I'm going to be on the wait list forever again. But the thing is, I will still be able to check it out at some point. And maybe by the time it gets to me again, I will be ready to read it. I don't know. I feel like I'm looking for things that are a little more lighthearted right now. I really like fantasy because I feel like it generally builds these really beautiful worlds, or if there's like bad things, the good always wins, and I just feel like I need that. So I may be reading something else, but I do have All the Colors of the Dark recently picked up. Maybe I'll just start it and see how I feel, but I might be returning it to the library and putting it on hold for a future read. I think that is everything I have to share with you today. I'm so grateful for you for spending some time with me in this creative space. I hope you found a little bit of inspiration. I hope some of the joy that I'm getting from these projects is coming through the screen and just giving you a big smile, a warm hug if you're a hugger, a high five if you're a high fiver. But just know that I'm cheering you on, and I hope things are going okay. I hope you are taking good care of yourselves, your loved ones, and your neighbors. Cheers to being creative, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.